Welcome everyone, and yes, today we will see the third part of the software carpentry workshop that is about Python. I will, mm, well, first of all, what I will do is yesterday I forgot to share the here in this path. I I I add a link where is well explained the Git the commit message. So I add the link that you will find in the now in the chat. So I recommend you to read this link because it's quite useful to generate good commit messages. So let's start with Python. First of all, I will. Mm, I hope that you have downloaded the data that we will need for today. I will use Jupyter Notebook, but in case that it doesn't work for you or you prefer to use the terminal, you can do so. You can use either IPython or Python in your terminal. But what I will do is I will share my screen, see if that works. Yes, so this is the Jupyter Notebook, and where the window, let's see the home window that you have when you execute Jupyter Notebook. And what we will do is we will create a new Python notebook. The way of doing that is if you click here in new, and then there is a notebook Python 3, so you click on there and you see that you have a new notebook. Is everyone in the yes, that exactly. Okay, so what you need to download is okay, yeah, okay, first of all, the lesson that I will follow today is this one. Is in the I copied it in the chat. And then if you go to setup, okay, well, I will copy this here. So this is the lesson that I will follow. I will make this, oops. So if you click here in setup, you will find this link, Python novice inflammation data. Actually, I will copy the link and I will paste it in the chat. So you need to download that data. And here in this setup page is explain how you can execute. What I will follow is a Jupyter Notebook, but also you can use an IPython interpreter that is in the, you need to execute that in the terminal, or just use Python. They said that if you have a GitBus on Windows, you can also use this thing that is Win PTY. Sorry, I never use it because I use Linux, but yeah, for Windows users could be worth it. So is everyone with the with either the Jupyter Notebook or a terminal with IPython or Python? Please let me know in the chat, and I know if I can continue with the lesson or not. Great. Thank you. So for the people that are using a terminal with Python, you can do the same. Everything that I type in the here in the Jupyter notebook, you can do that in the terminal. You will see like okay, some differences, but is the will be the same. You will be able to follow the lesson. So first of all is well, to explain what Python is and give a introduction or motivation. Python is a programming language that has become very popular these years because well, Python features a lot of libraries that you can use for example, for plotting some data or to do some data analysis. And also is a programming language that is easy. The learning curve is easier than other programming languages. Like if we compare Python with, let's say, Fortran or C, Python is easier to learn. So that's the reasons that why we are learning today together Python, and we will see some examples to do some data analysis. The data that we have download is inflammation in patients. We have like several files, and each file has a study of the inflammation on patients that we will see later the structure of that information. So okay, let's start with the Python fundamentals. Uh, Python, well, this is like we can use it as a big calculator. So, for example, if we type 6 plus 4, well, for the people that are using a Jupyter Notebook, you need to press the Shift and Enter to execute uh, what you have written. So you see that the input is 6 plus 4, and you get output 10. So well, this is like the easiest example. What I will explain now is the variables. Variables, that is a definition that is quite right. That is a variable is a name for a value. So for example, we will have a variable that is the weight or something. Weight will be so we type the name of the variable, that is weight kg, kilograms, and to assign a value we use the equal sign. I explaining all of this because depending on the programming language, you can use different signs and use different stuff. So that's why I'm like starting from the beginning to explaining like everything step by step. And now you assign the value that in this case we will assign 60 and following the same sample as the documentation. So I assign that, and now that I have that variable to see the content of that variable, what I can do is execute the function print. So if I type print inside the brackets uh, weight kilograms, and I execute it with the shift enter, I will be able to print 60. Also for the variables, you cannot start a variable with a digit, and the variables are case sensitive. And also we define the variables in Python as we need it. we don't need to like define them all of them at the beginning of the code as a. So what else? What about the types? So we have a integer, that is what we have written before, but we can also have we can redefine the variable and have a, weight underscore kg equal 60.0. So we will have that variable in now we will have that variable in a floating point, and also we can have a text, that is a weight kg text equal, and we can use mm, we can define a string. Weight in kgs is now, we can do something like that. And also what we can print when we use the function print, we can give several variables. So we can give this one. Okay, with what I have done is if you type W and then you press tab, you get the variables that are already defined. So you can choose and press enter, and this is like some help to type when you use Jupyter Notebook. So if I press shift enter, oh, okay, I I type in the wrong order. What I can do is copy paste text. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. Weight in kilograms is now 60. Okay, so what else? We have seen the three different types that we have. We have integer, float, string, and also we can. Okay, here what I need to explain now is that okay, we will do some operations. So we will calculate the weight in pounds. So to do that, we need to multiply 2.2 multiplied by the weight in kilograms. So I can save that, and now what I can do is I can do a print and say weight in pounds, and add the new variable that we have. So I have the weight in pounds is 132. But now I have a question for you that could be okay, for some of you could be obvious, but is not okay. It's not at the beginning when you are learning a programming language. Is not easy to grasp because we have defined the weight in pounds is based on the weight of kilograms. So what happens if I change I will change the weight kilograms. I will change the value and I will use 100. So I will do that now. So if when I execute again, when I execute the weight in pounds, what do you think that the value will be? Would you mind to type that what you think in the chat, and we can discuss. Okay, some people said that this will be the same, so the same will be like 132, and also the people think that will change. It will be 220. So anyone else? Okay, so I see that is like a different, like a several. Uh, yeah, several different answers. So, well, let's the best way to see the answer is to execute to execute and see what it is. So as you can see, the waiting pounds doesn't change. Why? Because when we calculate here the weight in pounds, we use the current value of weight in kilograms. That the current value was 60. So we did a calculation and it was updated with 132. So now if we change this variable, it doesn't matter because this operation that we have done here is not repeated again. So what we are doing is imagine that we have what is in the way that is explained in the documentation is like we have two different values in memory. And okay, we update weight in kilograms, but we haven't updated this the weight in pounds, because here what we have taken is the current value. It's like this is the same if we do. Okay, we'll copy. This is the same as we have done this, so this will never change. So this is could seems like it's, but I mean it's quite important that you understand the difference here. So if you have any questions or if you is not clear, please let me know and I can repeat again the. So okay, this is regarding variables. What I wanted to explain that I repeat again that we have different types. We can have strings, floating point numbers, or also we can have integers, and also we can do operations. And to see the value, we can use print. So let's start with working with the data that we have downloaded. In case that you haven't done that, you need to unzip the files that are in the zip file that you have downloaded. And once that you have done that, we will execute. Okay, we'll use now a library. What is a library? A library is a collection of functions that we will use, for example, in this case, to analyze the files that we have. So let's to import a library, to use a library, we need to import it before. So if we type import and the library, okay, this is an M, not a import, and the name of the library, that the name is NumPy. So if I execute that, yes, it worked because I didn't get any error. Maybe some of you have an error in if so, that means that you need to install the NumPy library. So is that working for everyone? This import NumPy? If not, please let us know and we can tell you how to install. the NumPy library. Okay, if that works for you, we can continue with the once that we have that library. Well, before that, I will explain what some people do is they use import NumPy as NP. If you use that, when you use later the library NumPy, instead of writing NumPy, you need to type NP. It's like a way to, in order not to type the whole name of the library. But today we will avoid that, and we will use the whole name that is NumPy. Okay, so to use what we will do is we will read the file and we will work with that file. So to use a function inside that library, we need to type numpy dot load txt. So this is the function that we will use. We type brackets, and this function has a well, actually has a more than two parameters but the needed ones are two. So we need to specify the first one, that is fname, that is equal, and the name of the file that we want to open, that is inflammation. Also, if I type a tab, I can choose the name of the file. So this is the first parameter, and the second one is the delimiter. That means is how the values are separated in the file. Because if what I will do, I will show let's see, this is the file. So if you see that we have like several rows, and each row are like a bunch of numbers separated by commas. So this is what we will analyze. Each row is a patient, if I remember right, and each column is a day. So what is like registered here is for each patient the inflammation per day. So for example, the patient one, day one is a 0, day 2 is a 0, day 3 is a 1, and so on. So here, the limiter, I need to specify that is a comma. Also, we can use, I don't know, semicolon, or we can use other delimiters, but because this is a CSV file that it stands for comma separate values, yes, we use a comma. Yes, exactly. There is a question that said if, for example, if because what I did is I opened the Jupyter notebook, I created it inside the folder called data, so I don't need to type. I just need to type the name. But actually, I could type the if it's inside a folder, I could type data. Oops, data slash inflammation dot or even I can type the whole path slash home slash Juan blah blah blah. But what I'm using here is just the relative path, that is just the name. So let's see if that works. If I execute enter, okay, we see that the array is loaded into memory. But what we haven't done is, well, here doesn't show the whole array, shows like a summary of the, because it's quite big, and it's not worth it to, for example, omits the, because it's a 0 point rather than they put a 0.0, or yeah, for example, these values are omitted from the output. Okay, we have load this, but we haven't saved that in a variable. So let's save that. If we copy and paste, we will use data as a variable to save that. And now you see where we don't have an output of it. If I click in print data, well, if I type print data, you see that, okay, we have the same output. And also we can we can we can see some attributes of, or well, we can see the, for example, the type of the variable. This is a new function that is called a type. That a type tells you the type of the variable. So if we type that, is we see that the variable data is from the class numpy and the array. This class is quite efficient to work with large matrices. Also, if you remember before, we can, if we want to see the type of weight kilograms, we see that this from the class is a integer. Also, I can type weight the text, and we see that the class is a str string. So the function type is useful to see the type of the variable. What else? Also, okay, we have seen the type of this variable data, but we don't know the data that is inside that matrix. What is the type of that? So to see that is print, use data dot the type, and this said that the values that are inside the matrix are floating point numbers. So you have a float 64, because it's like a 64 bits. Also, we can, well, you see that this is an attribute of data, of the data variable. So another attribute that we can see is the shape of the matrix. So if we type a print data.shape, we see that we have 60 rows, so we have 60 patients, and we have 40 columns. So we have 40 days. The study was during 40 days, done during 40 days. And also how we can get values like long single values from the matrix. The way to do that is can print data, and we use here now we use square brackets, and the way to access is we need to define the row and the column that we want to get. So if I want to get for the first patient the value that the inflammation value on the first day, what will be the correct way to type this, or type something like this? What we need to use 1 or 0 to get the first value of the first patient. Yes, you are right. The answer is we need to type 0. For example, if we use Fortran, MATLAB, R, they start counting with one because it's like they use like the natural numbers and it's okay. It's uh, one. They start counting from one because it's like a zero. Let's say that kind of doesn't exist. But other programming languages like C or well, in our case Python, they use zero because it's offset like from the let's say from the beginning. So they use for the first value that is a offset of zero. So that's why they use zero. It's a um, actually the first programming language that I learned was C, and they start with zero. So that's why maybe for me it's more natural to use a zero. But I understand that for people that might use MATLAB or R or Fortran, they could be like a little bit strange. But this is the way that Python is. You need to get the first value is zero. So if okay, we want to print that, we get that yeah the first day the first patient was zero. Also, we can get, for example, for the second patient, we can get the value that they have in the day, let's say 20. So what we can do is print data square brackets, and okay, the second patient will be the patient number one. It's like you have to subtract 1 from the value, and the day 20 will be the day 19. So if we print that, we see that the value is 6. So okay, now we know how to get values from the matrix. Also, we can get a subset of the matrix. If, for example, if because you have seen that we have 60 patients and 40 days, but imagine that you want to have the first 10 patients. How you can do that is you can have mm, print data square brackets. Okay, to make this easier, we will get the first uh, four patients. We will get 5 days, for instance. So the first uh, four patients are we type 0 colon 4, and then we type a comma, and we said that we will get the first 5 days, for instance. Okay, so 0 colon 5. That means that you will get the days 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like you start counting, but you never reach 5. When you reach when you reach 5, you stop and you don't include the index 5. So we will see the output. So that's the output. We have the first row is the patient 0, patient 1, 2, and 3. Or well, patient 1, 2, 3, and 4. Depends on the way that you want to count them. And also you have the first 5 days. Each column represents a day. We have a day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Also, you don't need when the here I include 0, but when it's 0, you don't need to include you don't need to include it. So you can type something like this, and you will get the same output. We got the first four patients, but what about if I want to get the last six patients? What is the way to do that? Okay, we'll see. Copy and paste. So print data. So okay, the full notation is 0 colon 4. Example, here we don't need to, if we want until the end, we don't need to specify the the end. Or if okay, if we want to specify, because we know that we have 60 patients, we can type here 60. And to get the last 6, I think we need to type 50, 54 if I am right. Let's see if that works. Yes. So what it does, it gets the patient, okay, the 44, 45, sorry, 50, 50, 54, 55, 56, 7, 8, and 9. And also, you don't need to specify the end. If you want to like get until the end, you can omit that. So you will see that, okay, let's copy and paste. If I execute this, you will see that is the same. We get the same results. Okay, so we have seen how to get like a parts of the matrix, and also we can start analyzing the data. We can use some functions. The functions that we can use is, for example, we can get the average of the data. So if we can, well, we use a print to see the value, and we use numpy, the name of the library, dot, and the name of the function that we will use min. And now the parameter will be the matrix that we have, that is data. So if we execute that, the output is 6.14. Also, we have the average, but also there are several functions that you can have the maximum, that will be numpy.max, that the maximum value is 20. Also, you can get the minimum, that is print numpy.min data is the minimum is 0. And also, well, there are a lot of functions, but another one that is the standard average. Sorry, standard deviation. That is 4.61 and a bunch of numbers. Okay, what else? Well, in the documentation, they said that here we have a function, and we have so far all the functions that we have used. You need to pass a parameter, but there are other functions that they don't need a parameter. For example, to execute this function, we need to import the library time. And if I print time dot see time, you notice that here we use brackets in order to invoke the function, but there are no parameters. So if we execute that, they set the time that is okay. We are Wednesday, 20th of January, and quarter to 11, 2021. So you see that this function doesn't need a parameter. One thing that I didn't, okay, if we are using a Jupyter notebook and we don't, for example, we want to use the function, this function, camprod, and actually I have no idea what that function does. There are several ways to get help in, well, this is more for IPython. I think that works only in Python. In Python is if you use the Python mm, terminal, that doesn't work. But for example, if I add a question symbol and I execute in IPython, there is, sorry, in IPython, in Jupyter Notebook, you can get this help. Also, another way of getting help is using the function help. And this one will work in well, I'm not sure if that works with Python, but so you also can execute that, and they print this. Okay, we'll just check if that works with the. Uh, yes, it works. It's actually I can show you the how it looks like with when I use Python. I will switch my screen. So when I execute this, you see that you have the help here. Also, you have some examples. Actually, the Python documentation is quite good. So you can see several examples, etc. So that's it. I think it's like that. Also, you can use if you can use Python or you can use IPython. That is similar to you can use import NumPy. The thing is with the IPython you can get like some colors, and also you can have like a different numbers for each input that you have. So numpy.com. Yes, here you can have also the help. Okay, so yeah, this is the. Let's go back to the Jupyter notebook. I will switch screen. Okay, this one. So the functions that we have used here is we got the whole matrix. But what if I want to, for example, get the maximum inflammation for a given patient? Uh, we can get the subset of the matrix and calculate that. So for example, we can execute print. Well, we will add some text. maximum inflammation for, let's use the for the first for patient, let's use a patient 0, and I need to use an numpy dot max, and we use data, and remember that we need to use square brackets, and because we will use patient 0 will be here will be 0, comma, and to get the whole all the columns, I can do this. I can just type a column, and this will get all the rows, sorry, all the columns. So if I execute that, the maximum inflammation for patient 0 is 18. Also, if you want to see the shape of that, we can, well, I think if I, well, you see that the output is an array of 0, 0. So you see that here you have like this all of the values that we have got. The should be 40. Uh, okay, but also what we can, there is another way in there is another way to get for example, if imagine that you want to get not for one patient, that the average for all the patients. So the way to do that is you need to type or print again to show the value numpy dot mean, that is the function, and then now here we use data, and we can use we can specify the axis that we want to use. The axis, if we want the average per patient, we need to use axis 1. So if I do that, I get the average per per patient. Also, I can get the per per patient of. Also, the other way is we can get the average per day. So instead of using A61, oops, sorry, I need to use A60, and I get here the average per patient. That is a figure that is where you can see it better. I will share with you right now. File, desktop. Should be that one. Yes, so here is explained in this graph. So if we want well, here they said, yeah, well, okay, the maximum for each patient, but okay, you can use average, minimum, whatever you want. You need to use axis 1. See that works. You need to use this. And when you want, for example, for the day, if you want the average for each day, you need to use axis 0. And you get for each day, you get the daily average here. Okay, I will switch back to my screen. Oops. Okay. Share application. Okay, this one. Uh, okay, checking if we can do a necessary. Okay, what I will do is I will I will continue and we'll do later an exercise with the okay, I will continue. So far what we have seen is okay. In the first part we have seen the variables that we can define. In the second part we have seen how to read the CSV file, import that the data that we have in Python, and work with that data. We can get the maximum, minimum, average, the standard deviation. Now what we will see is how to visualize that data, how to make some plots. For that, I need a new library. The new library will be, the name is matplotlib. So what I type now is import matplotlib dot pyplot, because what I will use is I will use a module of that library, so I will not use the whole. So if I import that, and now, well, one example that is in the documentation, we can use, well, the easiest example is we can use a heat map. So we have a image equal matplotlib dot pyplot. We need to type, yeah, the whole name. And now the the function name is I am show, and the matrix that we have, that is data. Well, in case we got, yeah, we click enter, and then we can use matplotlib, again pyplot show. So if we execute that, we can see a heat map. So you see that we have 60 patients here in this axis, and we have 40 days. And you see that the first day the inflammation value is 0, and it starts getting bigger and bigger. We see that in the middle, in day 20, 21, 19, we see that this is like the maximum value that we have. So this is like let's see, from 15 to 25 or something like that. We see the values that are in the maximum. So this is to plot a, a heat map. Also, we can plot the average inflammation. You remember what we have got here? This we can plot. I mean, we can plot that these values. So how we can do that? Let's save that into a variable. So we will have a average inflammation equal numpy dot mean, and we will have the data axis equals 0. Then we have a plot equal matplot live dot py plot dot plot. Oops. And the name of this variable that we have defined before. And now we can use matplotlib pyplot show. Oops. So if we execute that, we have for the in the x-axis we have that for the 40 days the value that starts the average value start at 0. For the day 5 we have like a 2, 15 we have it's a 8. So we can see here the graphical representation of that vector, and we can read better this rather than here. Okay, we can print that in a table, but it's more difficult to read. And we can do the same with, we use here the average, but we can do the same with the maximum, minimum. Also, what we can do, we can create a figure that contains the average, maximum, and minimum. We can create like a figure that contains several figures. What I will do is I will copy the 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 text, the Python script that is in the documentation, and we will go step by step to understand that. We will after that we will have an exercise that you can play a little bit with that and stop talking for for a little while. So okay, first to see that let's see the code. Let's copy and paste. So this is the code. Let's see if that works. Yes, it works. I will copy this code in the in the path that we have. Oops, doesn't copy the. Okay, now. So the code is available here. I copied that fragment of the code. Okay, so let's go step by step. The first line, what you define is the figure, and you define the size of the figure. So it's 10 by 3. So the 10 is the width and 3 is the height of the figure. And also define 3 different subplots. So the subplot will be like this is a one row, three columns, and you here specify the position. That the position will be 1, 2, and 3. So maybe it could be a little bit because they use now they use starts from 1 rather than from 0. And now for the axis 1 that we have defined here, we can define the y label that is average, and we have the user mean. For this label, we will use max and the function max mean. This is a function to make this to put this close one another. Well, also we can save the figure in PNG, portable network graphic, I think is the, and well, and we will show the figure of this. So yes, this is to plot plotting, and what I will do is I will let's do an exercise with the well now if you have any questions, please let me know. Not let's do an exercise that I will write the exercise here in the share path that we have. Uh, okay, so the exercise is you need to add a plot showing the standard deviation of the inflammation data for each day across all patients. So we have here the average, maximum, and minimum. So you need to add a plot showing the standard deviation to that. This is the first part of the exercise. And the second part is well, so you need to change because here we are showing like a 3 on a row, and I want like to show it in a square, like showing 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So 2 by 2. Also, another thing that I want to do is mm, to use the same scale for, because if you see for the average, this is up to 12, for the maximum is up to 20, and for the minimum up to 5. So if you can use the same value for all the plots, and okay, I will give you mm, 10 minutes. So the modifications are the following. I will, okay, they said add a plot showing the standard deviation of the, so I needed to, well, actually I needed, yeah, to modify. So first of all, the figure size is, let's put 10 by 10. And I need here to add a new subplot that will be called axis 4. And actually, I had to modify because here what I have said here is that I will have one row and 3 columns, and now what I will have is 2 rows and 2 columns. So I will modify this in all of these. And that's it. So this part is done. So we have 2 rows, 2 columns, and the position 4. So I will copy this And I will do the same for the axis 4. Set y label will be std, and here plot, I will standard deviation. I will plot that. And let's see if that works. Oops. Well, you see that here I did something wrong. This is empty, and here I have two plots. This is because, well, this is one of the dangers of copy and pasting. Here I forgot to change this. I can do axis is axis 4. So if I execute that again, okay, now is the. Also, you notice that in the same plot I can have several. In the same figure or figure, I can have like several plots, and they will get different colors. So yeah, this is the exercise. One thing that also is mentioned in the exercise is to use the same range for the y-axis. So, okay, this needs to be done here. So if I remember right, is I needed to here to say axis 1 is set y lim, something like that. And I can do it manually because I know that this they will be like the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 20, but also I can get it from like automatically and make it like a more standard in case that we use another file. Here I get the minimum of data. Also, I will have the maximum. In order to leave some room, I can multiply this by 1.1, and I can copy this for all the axes. Remember to change this 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now it should work. Let's see if. And now you see that the average, well, average, maximum, minimum, standard deviation, all of them have the same. Actually, I will change this, make this like a smaller. So they have the same y-axis from 0 to 21, I guess that, or 22. So do you have any questions regarding that part? If not, we can continue with we can see how the functions we will see. No, we need to see now loops. Okay, so if there are no questions, let's continue with the loops. A loop is when you have when you want to repeat the same action several times. So okay, let's put an example. Imagine that you have a word that is called. Okay, let's use my name, uh, Juan. So if I want to print each character of that word, I need to well, print word would be square brackets 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I print that, okay, that works. You can, yeah, is each character is print. But imagine, for instance, that I want to print a larger name. I want to print, for instance, William. So I have to copy and paste the 3 more times to print the whole name. But what happens if, for example, if the name is Shu is much shorter and I execute that, it will fail. So well, here you will find the first Python error, and they said well, if you read the error, they indicate you with an arrow where the error took place, and they tell you index error, string index out of range. Because we try to print something here that doesn't exist because we have positions 0, 1, and 2. And so how we can do that and make this more universal for regardless of the word? We can do for loop. So word will be equal okay, 1, and the syntax is for, and then is because we will iterate for each element of the string, we will do an action. So for char in a word, important to type here column, and now you see that is indented. Or well, if in case that you are not using, they use like uh, 4 spaces, but this is just a question of style. You can. The important thing is that if you will have several lines inside the for loop, you need all of these lines. They should contain the same indentation. So if at the beginning you are using 4 spaces, keep using these 4 spaces. So now the action will be print char. So if I execute that, it works. Now if I change the name and I execute and I want to print William, it works as well. And also if I want to print shorter names, Sue, it works again. So this is like using a for loop is you can see that only in 2 lines of code we can repeat the action as many times as we want, and we don't need to change anything here. So just depends on the length of the word that we have. So this is like regarding for loops. I see if there is something like also is this explain the documentation that when you use when you name when this variable name that for example we use a char, we needed to use like or it's important to use a name that is that makes sense in order to increase the readability of the code, and also that name could be used. I mean that variable could be used later on. Mm, Also another thing that this is what I mentioned regarding the mm, if for example I now add uh, this sentence saying wait, this is the end of the program. If I execute that, okay, the error here is that you see that they have the same indentation here than here. So this is executed as part of the for loop. In order not to execute that, we need to remove the indentation. So now if I execute this, it works. So they said, okay, this is the end of the program. Also, there is an example here. Okay, we'll copy and paste this sample. Well, this is well, it's like because you can get this value, you can get this value with the function, and yeah, you don't need to do that. But it's imagine that you want to calculate the length of a sentence of a word. So you can define here length 0, and for each vowel that is this, you can add this. You can add a 1 to the. And if you execute that, you can say that there is 5 vowels. But a way that a way to do that is you can do print and use the function len. Sorry, this is amazing. And then introduce the is a e I o u, and you get the length of the. Sometimes it's important to know the length uh, for some for a future if you want to do something else with Python. And well, also it's important. I will share with you this because it's important to see the. Well, here there are a lot of examples, a lot of, but to do this, we use range. So I'll give you 2 minutes, and you can try this exercise. So it's using a range. Write a loop that uses a range to print the first 3 natural numbers. So repeat it twice using range. But well, it's once that you have done with the exercise, please let me know. Range is a useful function to know because you can generate a list of numbers without need to write them by hand. Please let me know when you are done with the exercise. You can type that in the chat. Great. So I see that, yeah, people are done with the exercise. Let's solve it together. Well, okay, they said to print 1, 2, 3 using a range. So let's see if I remember. Is a for example, for number in range should be from 1 to 4. Print number. Let's see if that works. Yes. Also, for example, that is another way to, for example, if you want to print from 0 to where the other numbers. Let's try. I think it's 10 to. Yes. So you print from 1 to 10. Well, you don't include the 10, but the jump that you do from one number to another is 2. So it's 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 2, 7, 9, etc. So with this function is useful to yeah, to generate a list of numbers. Okay, so we have seen the for loops, and now we will see how to use a list of could be the list of numbers or list of strings, etc. So now that we are talking about odds, we can create a list of odds that if we type the list manually, we need to use square brackets and define the numbers that will be 1, 3, 5, and 7. And to get the first element of the list, we print odd 0. But what about if I want to get the last element of the list? There are several ways to get the last element of the list. The one way that we haven't seen is we can use the index -1. So -1 is like a goes back uh, to the end of the list. Imagine that the list is like a cyclic, so you get cyclic. So you execute that, you get the first element is 1, and the last element is 7. Also another way, but this is like a more complicated. That is, you can use length odd -1. Because if we don't remove, if we don't make like a one less, we will get the index 7 that doesn't exist. We have sorry, index 7 is the length is 4, so index 4 doesn't exist. Indexes are 0, 1, 2, 3. And also we can use the list to print for number in the odd, no, column, print number, and we can print all the numbers in this list. Also, okay, another thing, we have a list and we can change the values of the list. So imagine that we have a list of names equal, and we use square brackets. So we can have okay, Juan, can have William, and we can have for example Shashank. Imagine, for example, William, instead of using a name, I use an N. I use this is a typo. So I save that, and I notice that when I print names, I notice that William is misspelled. So how can I fix that? If I type names and the position, that is the position is 1, I can assign again the value. So the correct value is William with the M. So if I do that, and if I print again names, you see that now it yes, you get Juan, William, and Shashank, and this now is correct. So you can modify values in a list, but we can do the same with the strings. Uh, well, I can say now the answer. The answer is no. Let's have a name equal. Okay, in the sample is written Darwin. So okay, we have that. And imagine that I want to make the first letter, I want to make it small rather than capital letter. So I can do name 0 and use D. So if I do that, I get an error. And the error says that is in the line 2 of my code. And they say is about a type error. And they say that the string object doesn't support item assignment. So I can modify list, but a string is a different, cannot be modified. So you need to reassign again or that makes sense. Okay, so now I have I have this example, and I would like to know what you think if that will work or not. Okay, the example is the following. I have a mm, mm, okay, well, let's use I will create a cocktail. That the cocktail will be okay. Ingredients of the cocktail. I will get for example, we get rum. That this one will be easy cocktail. Coke and ice. But also what I will do is I will create a mocktail, so one without alcohol. So what I can do is I can copy the list and modify an ingredient. So how can I do that? I will type mocktail equal the cocktail that I already defined. Oops. And now I will change the first ingredient of the. I will change the first ingredient. So mocktail 0 will be equal. I will use no orange juice. Let's see. I'm not sure if that will be a good one, but well, we'll see. Orange juice instead of rum. And okay, and now let's print both list uh, ingredients of a cocktail and will be a cocktail ingredients of a mocktail. Okay, so that should work. Should print both list and yes, we'll okay. We'll see if that works. Oops, we see that it didn't work. Didn't work because okay, we have modified the one ingredient of the second list, but why is modify the ingredient of the first list? Do you know the answer, or do you have a guess, or do you know what happened here? Yes, the exactly the problem here is that we copy the reference here. So both mocktail and cocktail are in points to the same position in memory. So when we modify an ingredient in a mocktail, we modify the ingredient also in cocktail. So it's because these variables points to the same position in memory. So we need to be careful with that with the list. If we want to create a copy of a list, I will okay, we'll copy the text. I needed to use the function list. So if I use that, I can create a copy of the list rather than copy the reference of that list. So if I execute that, now it works because cocktail and mocktail points to different mm, positions in memory. Also, what I can have is I can have a list of a list. So, for example, I can have a let's can define a menu equal. I can use a cocktail and mocktail. So if I print menu, you see that we have a list. That is the first position is the ingredients of the cocktail, and the second position is the ingredients of the second. So what if I want to get the first list? So I needed to do a print on the menu and with the square brackets type 0. I will get the first list. And what about if I want to get the uh, first ingredient of the first list? So what I need to do is print menu square bracket 0. Now again square bracket and 0. And in that case I get the first element of the first list. So just to let you know that we can have like a different a list of a list. And also list in Python can have a different elements. Imagine that we have for for example, for weights, we can have some sample weight and could be equal to, okay, let's create a list that it could be 10, 12.5, and okay, we can have this no. So if I have that and I print sample weight, we have like a list with three different. We have an integer, we have a float, and we have a string. So this is okay. This is regarding list. What else? Okay, now what I will do is I will teach you like a new library and a new function, and we will do an exercise. The exercise will be to, well, first of all, we have a new a new library that we will use now patterns to get like a list of files, for instance, as we did, if you remember, 2 days ago with make, that we got, for example, we got a list of books. We use the percentage symbol dot that or dot txt, and we got the list of books. We can do something similar now with the list of inflammation data, because if we go to the folder, you can see that we have inflammation 01, 02, or 03, 04 until 12. So the library that I need to use is import glob, and the function to print everything, all the files that we have, is a print, is a glob dot glob, and in brackets we needed to use the inflammation, and here I use a star dot csv. If I execute this, I get a list of the files that I have. But you notice that this list is, well, is So yeah, the list of all these files. So the exercise here is okay. Give me one sec. I will copy uh, the original. Okay, so we will modify this code here, and instead of printing just one file, I will print. Mm, okay, I will print all of them and see what happens. So this is the exercise. When you're done with the exercise, please let me know, and I can continue with the lesson. Python. Okay, so the way here is we will create a variable that is we will call file names, and the variable contains we will contain the output of a glob and the pattern that will be inflammation star.csv. Also, if for example we want to well, I explain it later. I mean, we can use star, or also we can use the interrogation symbol to sign to. So file names, okay, we have that. And now we need to do for file name in file names. I need to make this. I can leave the space here, but oops. I need to indent everything in order to make this in the same loop. But I'm not sure if you select something. Okay, so if you select some text, you can do it instead of going one by one. You can do it something like this, and you don't need to do like what I have done, like going one by one. So here fname is a file name, and in theory it should work. So well, okay, let's print this how it is. So here I have for each file I have the plot. The thing is here I don't know which file it is. What I can do is I can add here something like a print file name. So if I execute that, we will get this. Well, we get this that this is not sorted, but we can have we can sort the list in that way. So if I execute that, okay, now we have a first, second, third, etc. So this is what I wanted to explain. With this, if I use the star, I print everything. But also what I can do is I can use O, sorry, O, and interrogation symbol. In that case, I will print from 01 to 09. I will not print the 10th, 11th, and 12th file if I use that. Okay, I'm not sure if that finishes. Yeah, is it done? Okay, so exercise done. Let's continue with the material. Okay, so what I need to explain is the conditionals. The conditionals are we have a imagine that we have a number that is 100, and to how to use conditionals. The way is if the number let's use is greater than 0 column, we can print the number is positive. If not, oops, they didn't. Okay, that's the right. If not, print the number is negative. Well, in that case, I will not be negative or 0 because we didn't contemplate the. So if we execute that, they said, okay, the number is positive. How we can add that just to, well, let's execute this again with the 0. The number is a negative of 0, or we can use minus 10. So we can have a more we can compare this in a better way. So we can add the 0 in the. So to add something is else if that will be if well if, and also the condition here that the number is equal. Notice that note here that I use two equal signs rather than one, because if I use one is an assignment rather than a comparison. Print the number is 0. Oop, the number is negative. So now, for example, if I have if I print a 0, you can see that it works. So this is the syntax for the conditionals. So I can have a greater than, also I can have a less than, equal to, also I can have a uh, I can have this one. Imagine that I can have a greater than or equal to. So if I execute that, the number is positive or 0. So I can have that one. And also I can use not equal. So a not equal is, I will copy this. If is like a exclamation sign and equal. So I can modify if it's not equal, it's not a 0, it's a 0. So if I change and I use a number 100, the number is not a 0. So I can have this to compare this. Also, I can compare if the number is inside a range of or not. So the way to do that is, for example, we have a number equal 5 if number is le less than 10 and number is greater than 0, I can say print the number is between 1 and 9. If, for example, the number is 11, I don't get any output because the number is not between 1 and 9. So I can use R and, or I can use also OR. We have this. And also we have, we have the variables that are Boolean, that they are true or false. We can use that. So okay, let's continue. True and false is we need to is like the first one is a capital T, or false is a capital F. Let's continue. For example, what we can do is we can create we haven't seen, we have used functions that are already defined in a library, but we haven't seen how to create a function. So for example, getting this, we will get this code here, paste, and we will include this code in a function. So how to do that? The way is we need to define the function. So we use def, and the name of we will get the name of the function. That the function is um, let's say is mm, print number, mm, for instance. And here, what I needed to say is the variables that I will need, the parameters that I will need. So what I will need is actually, yes, the number. So here now I need to indent the code. So I have this code, and well, one thing that I forgot here is to add a column at the end. I'm not sure if I don't add it. Okay, for example, if I don't add it, Python tells me that there is a syntax error, invalid syntax, and they point you that something is missing here. So what is missing is the column. If I execute that, I can use now the function. So for example, print number 20. It tells me the number is positive. Can use print number 0 and print number -10. So you see that now I can use this function. As you may note, this function doesn't return anything. This is one time of the thing. I remember we used to be called like a procedure, but well, this is a function that doesn't return anything. Also, we can create a function that returns a value. For example, a function uh, to change from Fahrenheit to Celsius. We can define def far to Celsius, the temperature. We use a temp column, and we can use a return. And here I need to type it's a temperature minus 32, and this is a multiply by 5 divided by 9. So okay, this function is defined. So if I use now the function, and I through this, for example, 32, the output is 0. So if I say, don't know, 70, I get that the return value is this one. You see that here I have an output, and in this function I didn't have an output because it doesn't return anything. Some functions, what they do is you return if the function went well, you return 0. If not, you can return. I mean, you can return an error value, but well, it's up to you. It's not for these examples. I think it's not needed. So okay, so now we know how to use functions. Okay, it's two other things regarding functions that could be important. Is okay, let's redefine that one. We can add some help. If I remember right, to add some help is like a type is 3 times. Yes. Uh, this function uh, translates from Fahrenheit. I think it's writing like that to Celsius. This is some help that you can type in the. So when you do that and you use far Celsius and now you type the interrogation symbol, you will get this is to define the docstring. So you get this help. This function translates from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So this is important if you want to add some help. Normally what you add here is also the temperature or the. And another thing that, for example, if we can predefine the value of a parameter. For example, we have this function, and we can. Well, in this case, doesn't make too much sense, but it's just an example to see how it works. So, for example, I can define this as 0, And in print number, if I give a parameter, for example 20, they say the number is positive. But imagine that I don't give any parameter. So they say the number is 0, but because by default takes this value. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say regarding functions. Well, a question. This is also quite important. I will copy here two functions. Which one do you think that is better, the first or the second one? Both of them do the same. So we have this function and we have this one. Which one do you think that is better? So that is the second one. More answers or more opinions about that? Yes, the second, because okay, although both functions don't have let's say documentation or comments, that I forgot to mention to add a comment is with the hashtag. You can add here a comment. But the second function is more readable than the first one. The first one, you see that the function, the name is s, that get a parameter p, and then you do a0 for v in p a plus. Is like you don't know what you are doing. But the second one, they said the name is standard deviation. So now, okay, standard deviation, the parameter is a sample. And you see also the variable names are readable. You know what you are doing, etc. For example, in the second function, you will need less comments or less documentation because you can read the code and you can understand what the code says or what the code tries to do. Rather than with the first function, you have no idea what you are doing. So this is yes, this is regarding functions. Also, we have seen like a different how to handle errors. We will see one, but we have here a longer list of errors in the documentation. For example, we will see the one of the errors is an index error. So I will copy this part in the. Well, okay, I will remove this. Let's copy this. This is an example. If I execute that, I get an index error. So they said that when you get an error, some people get panic and is oh what happened? But if you read the error is most of the time this is also an advantage of Python, a good thing of Python, that the explanation is quite useful and you can understand without using Google or another search engine to find out what the error is. Here you have index error, list index out of range. Now you have the error here that is okay, that the error was here, but because this function yeah is the error generate when you call this function, but then here they tell you inside the function what happened. So the error is here. So they say that this index error is out of range. Why? Because okay, we have a position 0, position 1, position 2, but we don't have a position 3. So I can change that by 2, for instance, and I got strawberry. So I got the right. So there are these errors that are index errors, syntax errors. For instance, if I forget to add the column, this is a syntax error, invalid syntax. So they tells you that okay, you need to use a proper syntax. Also, you can have a name error. Imagine that you use instead of this, you use that. So they tells you that name error, name ice cream is not defined. So that means so they tells you the line that they failed, line 7, tells you that the error is not. I mean the variable doesn't exist, and you check and exactly there is a well, yeah, type two missing characters, and when you fix that, it works. Also, there are another error that is a file error. That is when you try to open a file and the file doesn't exist. But yes, just remember that you get like you need to read the the message, the error message, and understand what they say. Or if in case that the error is quite cryptic and you don't understand that, just what I do is I copy the message and I paste into Google or any search engine that you want to use and search for more information. Also, just to finish, let's see what else we have. Yes, just to finish, we will see what the assertions are. Assertions are good when you create a piece of code and when you are collaborating with other people, just to check that the program works as expected and doesn't do anything wrong, or you don't get, for example, when you open a file, if you expect that all the values should be positive, um, you need to check that because sometimes could contain, I don't know, negative value or could contain something that is not what you expect. So if you create the software that you write should be robust in that sense. I will copy here a piece of code just to mention uh, copy paste. So for example, here I have a list of numbers, 1.5, 2.3, 0.7, etc. And what I will do is I will calculate the total of this. But what is how we can use assert is in that way. So I do assert is and the condition that I want to, so the number should be positive, should be greater than 0.0. If this assertion doesn't work, I will print this error message and the program will fail. So if I execute that, you see I get I get another type of error that is assertion error that is okay in that line, but okay, this is on purpose. And they say the error message, they say the data should only contain positive values. So for example, when you open a file and you don't, the files that we are using contains a lot of numbers. So okay, here you can see that there is a negative value. But when you open a file, you don't know what the contents of, if the contents are correct, are right or not. So that's why you needed, to, for example, to use this for example, at the beginning of any point during to check that actually, yeah, you get positive values. If we modify that, Okay, we get the answer. Total is 8.901, and yes, this is they check this for each number. It is okay. Is the assertion is done properly. When to use each time that you find it convenient. Is in the documentation you will find like a precondition, postcondition, and invariant. So for example, here is like a invariant that is this will be should be always true. So the number should be always greater than zero. If not, there is an error. But also you can check if, for example, at the end of the piece of code, maybe you want to check the result if it's okay, or if, for example, when you define a function, you would like to check if what you read is okay. So using that uh, makes your code more robust when you normally, for example, when you read something that you check that what you read is correct or not. And also when you have like a long imagine that okay, we are calculating total of positive numbers, so the total should be a positive number. So for example, you can add an assertion at the end of the code and check if the code is if the result is right or not. So you have this is like a more explained in the documentation. And I think this is well, that is also a part of debugging. Debugging is mm, when a code fails. For example, you are reading a file. Imagine that the file is huge, is 1 MB or 1 GB, and it fails. You need to go step by step. Step by step means, for example, use a file that is smaller, and also when you write a large piece of code, also like write a small part and check that it works. And then you add more functionality and check that it works. So you do it gradually, rather than write everything at once and run the code. In that case, if there is an error, it's more difficult to find out where the error is. So yeah, this is like a small summary of that. And also, well, we have seen that you can we have used Jupyter notebooks, but you can also use Python or IPython and use, for instance, you can take this piece of code. You can save this code into a file and execute that file. You can type something like, for example, I will switch, and that will be the end of. Imagine that you type a Python and my program dot py, and when you execute, okay, it will fail because that program doesn't exist. But my program.py will contain, well, actually, okay, I will nano my program. Uh, so I can edit and I can do print. Have a nice afternoon. So now if I do Python my program, it will execute that part. Have a nice afternoon. So this is like a different Jupyter Notebook is could be two small pieces of code, or is more to learn. It's more to learn and see how Python works. But when you want to create larger programs, or for example, when you want to use another computer or supercomputer like Archer 2, Cirrus, or any other supercomputing facility that you may have access, normally you don't use Jupyter notebooks. You write your script in a file and you execute it with Python. So, okay, this is what I wanted to explain about Python. If you have any questions, if not, have a nice afternoon and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the last session of the carpentry, the software carpentries, and will be to we will see the how to use SQL to handle data. So just to finish, yes,